Okay, so have you ever packed for like a weekend trip and just dreaded the cooler situation?
Yeah, totally. It's like this big bulky thing that never seems to fit quite right, and then you worry if stuff is actually going to stay cold.
Ugh, it's the worst. Melted ice cream, warm drinks. Not exactly the vibe you're going for, right?
No, not at all. It's like you need something that's heavy duty enough for the adventure, but also, practical for everyday use.
Exactly. So today we're taking a deep dive into the YETI Roadie 24 to see if it lives up to the hype.
So, right off the bat, when we talk about travel woes, temperature is a huge one.
Oh, totally. I mean, keeping things cold or hot for that matter is like the whole point of a cooler.
Exactly. And then there's always the issue of space, especially
Ugh,
if you're road tripping or flying, you don't have a ton of room to spare.
tell me about it. I feel like I'm playing Tetris every time I pack my car.
And then on top of that, you need a cooler that can withstand some bumps and bruises,
Hmm.
especially if you're off the beaten path.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
My last cooler ended up with a cracked lid after one too many camping trips. Not a good look.
Yeah. So that's where the whole durability thing comes in. I mean, nobody wants to buy a new cooler every season.
Okay, so let's talk about the YETI Roadie 24 and see if it checks all the boxes. What do you think makes this cooler stand out from the crowd?
Well, for starters, it's built with this rotomolded design, which basically means it's made from one solid piece of super durable plastic.
Oh, wow. So no seams or weak points for leaks or cracks?
Exactly. And then they add this fat wall construction, which means the walls are extra thick. It really can take a beating.
Okay, so it sounds pretty indestructible. But what about the insulation? How does it actually keep things cold?
Well, they use something called permafrost insulation, which is like this super powered barrier against heat. It's supposed to keep ice frozen for days, even in warm weather.
Wow, days. That's impressive.
Right. No more lukewarm drinks on the beach.
Speaking of the beach, we were talking about space constraints earlier, and the Roadie 24 seems pretty compact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely designed with travel in mind. It's small enough to fit in a car, but still has a decent capacity, 18 cans with ice.
Oh, perfect for a day trip or, even just running errands around town. You don't always need a massive cooler.
Right. And did I mention it's super easy to carry? Like, they have these really sturdy handles and even an optional shoulder strap.
Oh, so no more struggling with those awkward handles that dig into your hands.
Exactly. They've really thought of everything. Okay, so we've talked about durability and portability, but let's get down to the real test performance. Does it actually keep things cold as advertised?
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, a cooler can look great, but if it doesn't perform well, what's the point?
Totally. And from what I've read and seen online, the Roadie 24 really does deliver on its promise of extended ice retention. Like, people are seriously impressed with how long it keeps things cold.
So no more soggy sandwiches or melted ice cream.
Nope, this thing is designed to keep your food and drinks at the perfect temperature. It has like this
Ah.
really tight seal and a heavy duty latch that locks everything in.
Okay, so we know it's tough. It keeps things cold, and it's easy to transport. But are there any tips or tricks to get the most out of it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Pre-chilling is a game changer. Like, before you pack anything, just toss some ice in the roadie and let it sit for like an hour or two.
Oh, okay, so it's basically like giving the insulation a head start. Makes sense.
Exactly. And then when you're actually packing, try to minimize airspace. So fill any gaps with like towels or extra ice packs.
Oh, that's a great tip. I also heard that packing the cooler tightly helps keep things colder longer.
Mm,
Like imagine it as a giant ice puzzle. You want to fit everything in snugly.
yeah, exactly. It's all about maximizing the efficiency of that insulation. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, but let's address the elephant in the room. The Yeti Roadie 24 is not exactly budget friendly.
Yeah, it's definitely an investment. So is it worth the price?
Well, that's the big question, right? But think about it this way. You're not just buying a cooler, you're buying peace of mind. Like, your food will be safe, your drinks will be cold, and you won't have to worry about replacing it every few years.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, cheap coolers often end up costing you more in the long run because they break down or don't perform well.
Exactly. And plus, the Yeti's versatility means you can use it for pretty much anything: road trips, camping, beach days, even just taking lunch to work. So you're really getting a lot of bang for your buck.
So to wrap up this deep dive into the YETI Roadie 24, it really comes down to your personal needs and priorities.
Yeah, I mean, are you looking for a super durable, high-performing cooler that's built to last and can handle all your adventures?
And if so, is it worth the investment to have that peace of mind and convenience?
I think so, but
Uh,
ultimately the decision is yours.
exactly. So do your research, think about your lifestyle, and decide if the YETI Roadie 24 is the right cooler for you. Happy adventuring
Cheers to that.
and to cool drinks.
Always.